Hello, and welcome to my World Jigsaw Puzzle Championships preview video, which is days to go until the World Championships kick off in Valladolid, Spain. I will take a look at the Canadian delegation and offer some of my predictions on how I think the Canadians will do. I'll also be including a few names from people of other countries who may be ones to watch out for as well. I do want to mention that as I discuss the international speed puzzlers closer to the end of this video, I won't be going into a huge amount of detail on them. This channel at the current time is still focused more on the Canadian speed puzzlers and trying to promote what they are doing. So that will be the focus of the video. I have also made sure not to watch anything from the Peace Talks podcast, as I know around the time that this video was posted, probably just before this, they will have uploaded their predictions and their thoughts on the competitors, and they usually go into much more detail on the international puzzler scene. So I would definitely recommend watching or listening to their podcast as well after you're finished here. I will also be focusing only on those puzzlers that are confirmed to be participating in the World Jigsaw Puzzle Championships as outlined on the World Jigsaw Puzzle Federation webpage. This means that they have already been assigned a group to participate in for the individual rounds. This video is focusing purely on the individual rounds. If I have time, which doesn't seem overly likely, but who knows? If I have time, I will also do a video on the pairs and teams events, but really my big focus going over there is the individual rounds, so that is what I am focusing on for this preview video. As I mentioned, the Canadians are the focus in this video. Maybe in future years, I will expand this more to the international community. That's not been my focus so far. There's so many people that I've been introduced to and have started talking to that are part of the international speed puzzling community. This will probably grow at Worlds over the next week or so. Yeah, if you see me in Spain and you are not Canadian, please feel free to come and speak with me. The more people I know in the speed puzzling world, the better. There's no bad puzzlers or bad people in the puzzling world that I've ever met, and I'm pretty confident there aren't any. So again, come and talk to me if you see me in Spain. I will be wearing probably this shirt or one of the other shirts I posted in a previous video. But yeah, you'll know who I am. So let's get into the Canadians that will be participating at the World Jigsaw Puzzle Championships. At the time of this recording, there are 53 Canadians listed on the World Jigsaw Puzzle Federation website, with 48 of them already placed into an individual qualifying round. So of those 48 is who I will be focusing on in this video. That is also up from 20 participants from Canada in 2024. So Canada is growing quickly in the speed puzzling world, and I expect it to continue for a little bit longer. And while I am not covering it in this video, there will be 27 pairs of puzzlers that will be competing under the Canadian flag. That's up from 18 in 2024. And there are 9 teams that have been assigned a qualifying round for the teams events, and that is up from 7 in 2024. So growing in all the different categories. Of the 53 names listed on the World Jigsaw Puzzle Federation website for the Canadians, just 11 of those have been to Worlds before, meaning up to 42 Canadians will be making their World Championship debut this year. The website also breaks down the participants into age categories. We Canadians do not have anybody under the age of 18 participating, and I'm not going to break down the other age categories. I don't know why they've put two groups into senior categories. Probably not the choice of words I would have used for those age brackets, but yeah, if you want to know that information, you can find that out on the website itself. It doesn't matter. We don't have anybody under the age of 18. Everybody else is at least 19 years of age or older. So let's look into who the participants are. There's a lot of information that I'm going to go through in this, so I will be reading off the screen beside me more than usual. I apologize for not looking at the camera the whole time in this video. I also apologize for any names I may mispronounce in this video. Please feel free to correct me so I don't make that mistake in the future, but I will do my absolute best. In the individual rounds, we kick off with Group A, and I'll be going through the names as listed in alphabetical order on the World Jigsaw Puzzle Federation website. So we have 8 participants from Canada in this first round, and that includes myself, Adam Gray, Amanda Tarian, Cindy Chow, Masami Bodrogi, Megan Sloka, Sandra Foster, Suzanne Zakur, and Sylvia Slaughter. Within this group, only Sandra is a returning competitor, meaning all 7 others are making their World Championship debut. If I had to pick someone from this group that is a lock to make it through to the semifinals, it would have to be Megan Sloka. She is currently the back-to-back Canadian national champion. She has competed in 4 national rounds, never finishing other than first place, and she also recently placed second at the Eastern Regionals. Not with a Ravensburger puzzle, which is something to consider, but still an outstanding result. So Megan, I can almost guarantee, no, I will guarantee, is moving on to the semifinal round. For the remaining 7 people in the group, deciding who's going to make it through to the semifinals is a bit trickier. The highest ranked person, according to the CGPA results in this group, would be me. However, there is a gulf of difference between my puzzling abilities, which are pretty good, and Megan's. So we are not in the same categories. While she finished first at nationals and I finished 7th, there is a huge difference between that first place and that 7th place finish. I do think that I can make it through to the semifinals, but not a lock to get through to that. Likely, sure, but definitely not in the same category as Megan. Sandra Foster, as I mentioned, is the only returning Canadian participant in this group. She missed out on qualifying for the semifinals by a few minutes last year, and this will come up a few times in the video, the number of people that qualify for the semifinals has increased this year with the country rule gone, which I'm not going to get into. The country rule essentially gone. That will also help a few other people that were maybe on the cusp last year move on to the semifinals. I do think if Sandra has been practicing and has improved, she should make it through to the semifinals as well. She is also on my team for the teams event, so going to be cheering extra hard for anybody that I am puzzling with as a pair or teammate at this competition. So hopefully Sandra can pull it off and move on to the semifinals as well. I do want to make a note that for this video, all the Canadian Jigsaw Puzzle Association results I'm using is based purely on their individual results. If I couldn't find anything from individual results, I'm not going to have information on them. There is a chance that people have participated in teams events or partner pairs events. I did not look into those for these individual rounds, mainly because I'm not judging how well they work on a team. It's unknown to me how strong their other teammates were and if that helped them or hindered them in those competitions. So that's irrelevant for this. So when I say in the video I don't have enough information on them or no information, it's only because of the Canadian Jigsaw Puzzle Associations or the CJPA events. That is what I'm looking at to gain some insight to who these Canadian puzzlers are. For the remainder of Group A, I really don't have enough information to confidently say whether or not I feel these people will move on to semifinals or potentially further. So I'm not going to group them into likely to move on or probable or even really dark horses. Definitely there's no locks in my mind for the rest of this group. For instance, Sylvia, she's registered as a Canadian, however, is coming from another country, which is probably why there's no Canadian results for her. Cindy also has no individual CJPA results that I can find. Masami and Amanda, they have similar results, not a ton of competition experience compared to some other people that are going from Canada. But when it comes to their average finishing places, they are quite similar in how they've performed. And Suzanne is not far behind them. So that group of 3, it'll be a toss-up kind of to see how they finish in the qualifying round. I won't keep repeating this throughout the video, but if someone gets the right puzzle on the right day, that can make all the difference. So while I will have my predictions and my guesses as to how I think people are going to do, this isn't scientific, and there's so many factors that come into play. Yes, the puzzle that you may get if you make the right choice between two puzzles. I know that's where I'm very nervous. I'm going to make the wrong choice. The time of day will make a difference, and how tired someone might be. Is there jet lag involved with it? Will people get nervous on the world stage? All these factors are things that I am not taking into consideration, or can't, in most cases, into consideration. So while I will be making my guesses and predictions, I could be completely wrong in some of these areas, or I could be very right. I did pretty well with the national competition. Maybe this will be the same for the Worlds. That is the summary for Group A. It's a mixed group of people, and that's going to happen with almost every single one of the qualification groups. I do think Worlds did a pretty good job of sorting Canadians and spreading out the ability levels with how we're represented in each group. But when it comes to Group A, the smart bet and the only bet as a guaranteed person to move on to the semifinals is Megan. Next up is Group B with 9 Canadians, which is the most in a single qualification round. Again, in alphabetical order, it is Allison Brown, Katie Delude, Holly Redchurch, Irene Lee, Irina Shvedchenko, Elizabeth Stanley, Naomi Weeb, Rolanda Lamb, and Teresa Cummings. A lot of names in here, but again, the one that I'm going to feel the most strongly confident and declare a lock to move on to the semifinals is Katie Delude. If you want to know more about Katie, I'm not going to get into too much detail here, but if you do want to know more, go check out our Puzzled and Chatty episode posted on this channel, where Katie goes into a lot more detail about herself, and we learn so much about her. It's a great episode, highly recommend. But the summary, Katie is finishing, she finished in 2nd place at the Canadian Nationals in 2024, 3rd place in 2025. She just won the Canadian Eastern Regionals. Her online virtual results are also outstanding. So yeah, there's no reason to believe that anything less than moving on to the semifinals is possible for Katie. She is definitely moving on. That's where my money is going for Group B. Within Group B, we only have one returning person as well in this one, and that is Elizabeth Stanley. So her experience may help her in the qualifying rounds. After Katie, this is a very hard group to predict. I could not find any individual CJPA results for Holly, Irina, Naomi, or Teresa. So 4 out of the 9 are essentially unknown. They could fall into a dark horse category where they're actually extremely good, but I'm not going to make any prediction if I have no information on individuals. Like I said, they may have been a part of a team or a pair within Canadian events, but going back to January 2023, I could not find any information on them, but I wish them all good luck at the competition, and I'm sure I'll meet them when I am there. There's 3 remaining people in this group. First off is Allison Brown. While she does not have any in-person Canadian competition experience, she does have a couple of virtual competitions under her belt at this point, and has been practicing a lot. And that is something that I do take into consideration when I am making these predictions. There are some people on this list who I am familiar with their practicing regiment or schedule or effort that they put into it, and that has swayed my predictions in some categories. So that is something to keep in mind for Allison. I think she could be a dark horse. While it is her first event, she may be nervous going into this. Right puzzle, right day. She has been practicing. If she gets one that she's done a fair bit in practicing in the qualifying rounds, who knows, could move on to the semifinals. The other 2 people in this group is Elizabeth, as I've already mentioned, and Rolanda. Elizabeth has 15 Canadian events that she's participated in. Rolanda has 9. The average result between them are very similar for a finishing spot, which is in the mid-30s, give or take a few spots. Tough to predict if that will be good enough to move on to the semifinals. As I mentioned, Elizabeth did not move on last year. Rolanda is making her debut. It will be a challenge to move on. Is it possible? Of course it is. I know they have been practicing as well, and we'll see how that goes. I don't feel confident in this group making it beyond Katie, making a prediction on who will likely or probably move on to the semifinals. I do think there will be a dark horse from Group B. There will be another. I think there will be another Canadian. I don't know who it will be, but I think out of Group B there will be one that that moves on. That being said, looking at the other names of the international puzzlers within this group, Group B is a tough group to make it out of. So that might play an impact. But 85 people do move on out of 170, 180 potential people. So we'll see how that goes. Group C is an interesting one and has 8 Canadians in it. They are, in alphabetical order, Alison Eldrisma, Brian Rose Redchurch, Devin Donaldson, Elise Fortier, Heather Noseworthy, Nicole Boyle, Shona Daniels, and Zoe Gaudreau. In this group, we have 2 returning competitors. I think it's the most out of any of the groups, maybe. I'll double check. But we definitely have 2, and that is Allison and Devin. Starting off with my lock to make it in from Group C, it has to be Devin Donaldson. This is her 3rd Worlds. She finished in 78th position last year, which is outstanding to do at Worlds. Top Canadian finisher each of the last 2 Worlds as well. She is a former Canadian national champion from 2023 with excellent results after that. Again, not going to go into too much detail about Devin. If you want to learn more about Devin, please check out her episode of Puzzled and Chatty on this platform as well. Allison also made it through to the semifinals last year fairly easily, so I do expect her to move on. I'm not going to put her into the lock category with Devin, but it's as close as you can possibly get. She is also on my team at Worlds, so I will be cheering extra hard for her as a fellow teammate, and hopefully she does move on to the next round. And we also have Elise in this group, and while it is her first Worlds, she has had a top 10 finish in each of the last 3 Canadian nationals, so I am feeling very confident that she will move on as well. So that is already 3 people that I'm pretty sure will move on from Group C. Of the remaining 5 in the group, there are only 2 that I could find information on, and that is Heather and Shona, both with finishing places in CJPA events around the mid-20s is their average positioning, give or take a couple spots. This might be another scenario where that is enough, depending on the day, depending on the puzzle. They might have a chance to be able to move on to the semifinals as well. So potentially 5 of the people that I am familiar with might make it out of Group C. As for Briar, Nicole, and Zoe, I have no individual information on them, so maybe this is another chance or potential surprise result with a dark horse coming out of one of those 3. Moving on to Group D, we also have 8 Canadian participants in this group. I am definitely going to get a couple names wrong in this one. Again, I apologize. In alphabetical order, we have Andre and Karen Boisvert, Charlene Friesen, Guylaine Boisvert, Heather Sabaston, Janet Chung, Melanie Vallee, Shalini Agrawal, and Shauna Gibbs. So far, this is the toughest group to predict who will make it through. I am not assigning anyone in this group a lock to make it on to the semifinals, but there are a couple that I think have a very good chance. Melanie is the only one in this group where I have no CJPA information on her, so hopefully she does well, but can't make a prediction when it comes to Melanie. Charlie and Guylaine are both returning competitors. Charlie missed the qualifying for semifinals last year, but not by too much. And again, since qualifying is a bit more expanded this year with a few more people getting through in each round, I believe her chances have gone up and she may be able to get through in one of those last few spots into the semifinals. As for Guylaine, she did qualify last year, but under the country rule to make it through to the semifinals, which is not really applicable this year. However, based on the numbers, if it was expanded to the full 85 people that is this year, similar to Charlie, they both would have made it through on their own. So For both of them, I think they equally have a chance to make it through to the semifinals. Andre, Ann, and Shauna, they both have similar overall averages when it comes to finishing place, which is in the high teens. This is also very similar to Ghislaine, so if she makes it through, there's a very good chance that Andre, Ann, and Shauna can also make it through as well. So potentially we have 4 people with a good opportunity to make it through from Group D. That being said, as I keep adding numbers up onto this, the odds of that many making it through becomes tougher. You have to keep in mind that, yes, there's 85 people, but there is 60-something countries being represented. If only one person is really good from each of the other countries, that's going to limit the number of spots available for additional Canadians or people from Spain or Australia or France or Germany. Multiple people from countries isn't always possible. So out of those 4, if I had to give an edge to somebody, it would be Ghislaine, just because she's already been to Worlds. She has the experience. She has moved on already to the semifinals in the past, so she knows what she needs to do to be able to do that. Experience can play a factor when it comes to Worlds. Finally, the other 3 members of this group are Heather, Janet, and Shailene. They have a higher average when it comes to the CJPA events and their finishing positions. But again, if it's a puzzle they know well and they've been practicing, who knows? I know Shailene has been practicing a fair bit, so anything can happen on the day. Group E is another interesting one. We have 8 people in this group as well, and we have Agnes Roach, Cameron Makareth, Daniel Engelson, Howard Schwartz, Crystal Gillies, Kyla Norris, Tess McLaughlin, and Vicky Richardson. Within this group, I will officially declare another lock to come out of this one, not just because she is my World's partner in the pairs events, but she is also an incredible puzzler, and that is Tess McLaughlin. To learn more about Tess, look at her episode on Puzzled and Chatty on this channel as well. A very good episode. She has excellent puzzling experience. She won the Western Regionals in 2024, a 6th place finish at her first Canadian Nationals in 2025. She's very good. Excellent online, virtual results, pairs results, which again, not taken into consideration, but she's my partner, so it matters a little bit to me. Tess will move on to the semifinals. Danielle is a returning participant to Worlds. She did move on to the semifinals last year, and there's no reason to believe that she won't do it again this year. So I'm putting her in the very likely category to move on to the semifinals. Danielle's times for a lot of puzzles are similar to mine. We kind of bounce back and forth between who's a bit faster depending on the puzzle. So if she can make it through to the semifinals, it gives me hope that I will be able to make it through to the semifinals as well. So hopefully Danielle does make it through, again, putting her in the very likely category to move on. Then we move on to Vicky Richardson. This is her debut at Worlds, which surprised me. I thought she had already been before. And if I don't count one of her recent Canadian Nationals final results, which is fair, it was a very tough puzzle in 2025 in the final round. This is more focused on the qualifying and making it through there. Her overall results at the Canadian Nationals, which is where all her results are that I can find, with one exception, has come from Nationals. So she's had very good experience at these events. If she can match what she does in the qualifying rounds at Nationals, she's going to move on without a problem into the semifinals at Worlds as well. In this group, we have 2 other returnees as well, so 3 total in this group with Agnes and Kyla. I don't have much information on Agnes, as there's no individual qualifying results for her. However, she did qualify for the semifinals in 2024. So she's proven that she can make it through at the World Championship level. Again, no reason to believe, similar to Danielle, that she wouldn't make it through again. So that brings us up to 4 from this group as well, with a very good chance of moving on. Tess is still the lock. Kyla, who I mentioned, is returning as well to the Worlds, did not move on in 2024 to the semifinals. However, this is another individual who I know has been practicing quite a bit and getting ready for Worlds. So I do think her qualifying placement will improve compared to what she did in 2024. I don't know if she makes it through to the semifinal round. She's going to go in the category of if it's the right puzzle the right day, there is a chance. But cheering on Kyla and hope she does well at Worlds. Cameron is not someone I know too much about as they don't currently reside in Canada, so their CJPA results are limited. They have done a couple events within Canada with an average place in the mid-20s. I would love to see him move on. There are not a lot of Canadian males attending Worlds, so as long as there's a couple of us that might move on, yeah, I'm going to cheer on the other guys that are there as well. So good luck to Cameron. Speaking of males attending Worlds from Canada, we also have Howard in this group. I have very little information on him, and alongside Crystal, who I have no information on at all. They are potential unknowns. They might do well, they may not, no idea, but I wish them both luck at Worlds. And finally, we have Group F, which has the fewest amount of Canadians with just 7. And they are, in alphabetical order, Alexander Reynolds, Chantal Lemontang, Megan Gray, Shalina Gutierrez, Tamara Arajo, sorry Tamara, Tracy Nanomura, and Virginie Picard. This is the group that was hardest for me to say. Again, I apologize for definitely getting some names wrong in this category. Sorry. The only returning competitor from this group is Tamara, who competed at last competed at Worlds 2023, not last year. She did qualify to get through to the semifinals in that year with potentially the hardest puzzle in any of the qualifying rounds I've seen. It's the pink lightning, but it's panoramic. Panoramic that's an insane choice to have for a qualifying round. I'm just thinking of the space that it's going to be using on the table. Not ideal, but she did make it through, so potentially she can make it through again this year. Within this group, I feel most confident about Tracy moving on to the semifinals. I won't place her in the locked category like I have for some others, but her CJPA results are excellent. However, there's only 4 rounds that to get information from. All I could find was 2 participating at 2024 and 2025 nationals, the qualifying round, and the finals. So she's shown that she can do well on the national stage. I don't know about overall consistency, though, when it comes to either regional competitions or virtual competitions. I can only go what I've seen. I think she still has a very good chance of moving on to the semifinals, though. Shalina and Chantel, who is my other team partner, so cheering extra hard for her. They also have strong chances of moving on to the semifinals. Shalini's CJPA results, with the exception of one round at the 2023 Canadian Nationals, they're all virtual. So that's a bit tougher to judge, as conditions can be a bit more suitable for you in your own environment. You can use more space if you need to. Tables might be slightly different. Lighting can be ideal. But her results in the virtual competitions have been good. Meanwhile, Chantel has competed in the 3rd most Canadian events since January 2023. She has consistent placings in nationals in the low 20s. I think she could move on again, given the right puzzle and the right circumstances. But as someone who is on my team, I really hope she does move on. Virginie is one that I'm not sure about. Her results do fluctuate. She has some good results, some very good finishes, and then some mixed results in there as well. So she's probably going to fall into more of the dark horse category. I think she's probably stronger than that category, but we'll have to wait and see how she performs at Worlds. Similar with Megan Gray in this category, who has some good results, but as someone who has the same last name as me, can't help but to cheer for someone like that. Even though no relation in there, you have to cheer for the other Gray, because why not? Finally, this group is Alexander. I have very limited information on him, so can't really make a prediction when it comes to this, but I hope he does well at Worlds too. That is it for the qualifying rounds. Taking the information I just gave there, I'm going to move on to the semifinal rounds and see kind of how I've placed people and how I think they'll do once they get to the semifinal rounds. So just as a refresher, out of the Canadians, my locks to be in the semifinals for sure are Megan Slocum from Group A, Katie Delude from Group B, Devin Donaldson from Group C, and Tess McLaughlin from Group E. Those four will definitely be in the semifinals. The Canadians who I think are highly likely to move on to the semifinals, but not a lock, and factors could play into whether or not they move on. These include, in alphabetical order, myself in this category, Allison, Elise, Agnes, Danielle, Vicky, Chantel, Shalina, and Tracy. I believe those are the people that are highly likely to move on to the semifinals for Canada. People who had place in, I guess, my third tier of potential qualifiers to move on, people that I think have a good chance of moving on to the semifinals include Sandra, Heather, Andre Ann, Charlie, Elaine, Shauna, Kyla, and Tamara. I think those people have a good chance moving on. They will definitely come down to more of which puzzle shows up in front of them and if they make the right choice and can kind of hold their nerves. Different things for different people in there. Someone might be a bit more nervous, but they're an excellent puzzler. So if they can continue with keeping the nerves under control, they'll be fine. Some people might overthink their puzzle choice. I'm going to be one of those people. Their puzzle choice in the individual qualifiers, hopefully they don't and they pick right. They can move on. But I think that is a group of people with a good chance to move on to the semifinals. And finally, we have the dark horses. These are people that I might not have tons of information on, or outside bets at if they're going to move on to the semifinals. This is based on some information I know about them, whether they've been practicing a lot. Definitely if they get the right puzzle. But the dark horses that I would put in this are Allison Brown, Elizabeth Stanley, Rolanda Lamb, Shona Daniels, Cameron Macarith, Megan Gray, and Virginie Picard. I think those are the dark horses for Canada that they could potentially move on to semifinals, and I hope they do. Now, if I didn't say someone's name in there, these are just the thoughts that I am having. Maybe I missed somebody as well. It's definitely possible. I do not have all the correct information, and I'm missing out key bits of information in there. Ideally, I would love to see all 48 Canadians move on to the semifinals, but that is just not probable. There's a lot of people participating. There's a lot of good puzzlers from a lot of different countries. Yeah, and if I didn't say your name, I do apologize for not choosing you or thinking you might move on to the semifinals. That's not the intention at all, and prove me wrong then. I'm happy if that happens. Just as a reminder, the predictions I made for the Canadian Nationals 2025, 2 people finished in the top 5 that I did not choose at all or even think about. So anybody can move on to the semifinals. Right day, right time. We'll see how it goes. Then we move on to the finals. When trying to make a prediction on who would make it into the finals at the World Championships, I did take into consideration how people have done in recent big events and the final events. Qualifiers, yes, they're important, but when the pressure's on and this is the end of the competition, how do you perform in that biggest moment? So my picks as locks to make it through to the finals from Canada at the World's 2025 Championship are Megan Slocum, Katie Delude, Devin Donaldson, and Tess McLaughlin. Yes, the same 4 locks I had going into the semifinals, because if you look at those 4 names, I don't know how I don't choose those 4 to move on to represent Canada. It will also be, if all 4 move on, that is the most Canada will have had in a World's final. But I'm, locked in. They are all moving on to the finals. It is also worth noting that Megan and Katie will be in the same semifinal. Devin will be in her own semifinal, and Tess will be in her own semifinal. So there is not going to be overlap between these between most of them. And Katie and Megan can easily move on in the same group. So not an issue with that. Now comes the tricky part. Who else do I think could make it to the finals, and who do I predict will make it to the finals? Canadians at the time of recording this video make up about 4.5% of the total participants at the World Championships. So if Canada is equally represented in the final, that would mean we would need 8 to 9 participants. I'm going to round up to 9, 8 to 9 participants in the final. I have already designated 4 spots to the locks that I previously mentioned, which leaves, we'll say, 5 spots left on the board from people that could potentially make it in, that I'm going to choose to make it into the finals at the World Championships. I do think anyone that I put into my likely category before has a chance of making it in there, but I'm going to try to be strict on myself here. That's 9 people. Could all 9 make it through? Absolutely, they could. And put 13 Canadians in the final? Definitely. But I'm going to challenge myself and try to narrow this down. So who of these 9 will potentially maybe move on to the finals? It will be. Before I do that, as a reminder, I am basing this on recent performances, recency of the results as well. There are some people in here that have done very well in the past and then not as great recently. That does play a factor into this. More looking at the last year or so as well. If they did very well 3 years ago, what have you done lately? That's kind of what we're looking at here. There's minimal weight at this point put onto the virtual competitions. It's really the in-person events that I care more about. And just kind of overall feelings towards how I think they might do and perform, and how well I know if they've been practicing. Yes, this kind of puts a bias on some people because I'll know them slightly better than others within this group, but I can only make decisions off the information I have. So again, potentially I could be extremely wrong here, but we'll see. All right, so who are the other people? So of the remaining people, the first person I think that will move on to the finals from Canada is Elise Fortier. Of the remaining choices here, she has the second lowest finishing position, average finishing position at competitions. 8th place at this year's Canadian Nationals. Excellent results at the regional competitions as well. And while they don't matter as much in my kind of ranking system here, virtual results are also very good. So consistent in all different categories. Elise, I believe, moves on. Number 2 is Tracy. This is kind of a wild card choice here. The only information I have on her is from the 2024 and 2025 national events. Nothing else beyond that. She had a 3rd place finish in 2024, obviously excellent. 12th place in 2025, very good as well. I'm hesitant due to the lack of other information a little bit here, but I'm gonna go with my gut and say that Tracy moves on to the finals as well. Number 3 is Alison Elgersma. She did not make it through to the finals last year in 2024 at Worlds, even though she made it to the semifinals. I do think, based on her performance in the past year since Worlds, the amount of practice is exponentially, that's a better word, exponentially and exceptionally higher than it was heading into Worlds last year. There's a lot going on behind the scenes that Alison has been working on. So overall ability has improved. Made it to the finals in both of the last Canadian Nationals. Excellent qualifying at Nationals. The one area that might be of a concern here is that her qualification rounds are always excellent, with a little bit of a trail off when it comes to the finals. I don't think that will be the case at Worlds this year, and if she gets a puzzle in the semifinals that suits her strengths, especially if it's anything that's like a landscape, easy through through that round, not a problem. So yeah, in the semifinals, I think Allison makes it through. Number 4 is Danielle. She is Allison's world's partner, and they are very similar in terms of their speed. They do practice together a fair bit. I don't know if their styles are the same, but their overall average finishing placements are only separated by 7/100ths of a place, with the slight edge going to Danielle. Now, Danielle, I would probably put it in as one of the most consistent puzzlers that I know. There isn't really a lot of fluctuation as doing very well one day and then awful the next day. She's kind of straight through on what she accomplishes in the different events. So as long as she maintains focus, stays level-headed, yeah, I think Danielle moves on to the finals, into the finals. Vicky Richardson is my 5th choice here, bringing the total to 9. There are similarities here between Tracy and Vicky, not because they're pairs partners at Worlds, but they're also related, so that helps. Very strong puzzling family here. 2023 and 2024 were very good results for Vicky. A bit of a drop in the 2025 Canadian Nationals final. Again, it's a tricky puzzle, but semifinals could be a very difficult puzzle. We have no idea what World is going to present us to get people through to the final round. Unreleased puzzles could be anything, and the difficulty around the world in national competitions, the difficulty level seems to have increased in these final rounds, which means the difficulty will probably translate to more difficult in the semifinal rounds. But when it comes to Vicky, she's very fast, especially when it comes to teams. Her Canadian Nationals team, the Jigsaw Juggernauts, are always in the running to do very well, and Vicky is a huge part of that. So she can take her skills and speed from the team's aspect and put that into the individual rounds. I think Vicky moves on. That is my list of 9 Canadians who I do think will make it through to the World's finals. However, that is 9 is an odd number, and I'm not going to end like that. I am reluctantly going to place myself in the 10th position here. I did say in my previous World Previews video about myself and the rounds that I will be in that I do think I have an opportunity and a chance to make it into the finals. I hope I am one of the Canadians represented in the finals. This isn't to sound overconfident or anything of myself, because I'm definitely not. But if I look at the same qualifications I use to determine everything else, determine all the other positions that I chose, I do fit into a lot of the categories as well. In the past 2 Canadian finals, I have placed better in the final round than in the qualifier. I do think once there's more on the line, I do better under those types of pressure circumstances. So there will be a lot on the line at the semifinals. So as long as I can stay focused and stick to my game plan, I should be okay. I did have my highest Canadian finish this year in 7th place. And again, while virtual results don't really matter too much in my decision making here, my past 2 results for the virtual events, I have my first win and a 3rd place finish as well, finishing very closely behind Devin Donaldson in the most recent one. I have been practicing a lot over the past few months and preparing for Worlds. If everything comes together, I think I can be the 10th Canadian that moves on to the finals. And I hope I am. I really hope I am. And while I didn't include Agnes, Chantel, or Shalina, who I did put into the likely category to make the semifinals, I would not be surprised if any of them moved through to the finals as well. I just made the tough choice to bring it down to 9, 10 Canadians. There's always going to be someone that's left off the list. Again, please prove me wrong. The more Canadians in the final, the better. help show the world that we are improving a lot, and we are getting better every single year. So if we have 10, 13, 15, 20 Canadians in the final, yeah, I think people are going to notice that. So that is it for the individual rounds for the Canadians. And I want to wish luck to everybody that's coming from Canada. Enjoy yourselves, of course. If you are there to fully compete, or if you have very specific and realistic goals that you want to achieve, I hope everything falls into place for you. And yeah, good luck. I'm now going to move on to kind of the international competitors that people should keep an eye on. I'm not going to go into much detail about the international competitors, as I mentioned, but there are a few names I want to highlight. I will not be attempting last names on this, so if you want to learn more about them, you can check out the World Jigsaw Puzzle Federation websites. But yeah, let's look at some of the international competitors. First, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the honorary Canadian that will be at Worlds, and that is Kirsty Williams. While she is new to Canada, she will be competing under the UK flag at Worlds. If you want to know more about Kirsty, you can check out her puzzled and chatty episode on this channel. It's a very funny episode, definitely worth the watch. And she made it to the finals in 2024. She has been practicing. I think she moves on again to the finals this year. Then we move on to some of the powerhouses that are from the international puzzling community that could potentially put an overall victory, but definitely people to keep their eyes on. First, I need to acknowledge the pure dominance that will be coming out of Poland. This includes Veronica, who placed second last year, with the last year's winner not attending in 2025. You have to kind of put her down as the favorite to repeat, but repeating is very hard. It's possible, which I'll get to in a minute, but it's very, very hard to do. But Veronica from Poland, second place last year, definitely someone to watch out for. We also have the third place finisher from last year, Christian, who very good as well. I think his finishing reaction, if you go back and watch last year's videos, I think his reaction was my favorite of the podium people. He was just very excited and very enthused. So good luck to him as well. And of course, the other individual from Poland who might be the most well-known around the world Polish puzzler, and that is Victor. Now, he placed 20th last year, which is still shocking to me. Placed 20th last year. He will be higher this year. 100% he will be higher, if not pushing for that top spot overall. Taking down Veronica will be tough, as well as Christian. So, but that is a powerhouse 3 from Poland. Germany is always a threat at Worlds as well. We have Katharina, who finished 5th last year, and Clara, who finished in 12th. 2 people in the top 12. Very good to see, so good luck to them. Spain has a lot of people that will compete as well, obviously, because we're in Spain for the World Championships. But if I had to pick one person from Spain that will be a standout, you can't ever count out Alejandro, who finished 8th last year, but won the 2022 and 2023 Worlds, a back-to-back accomplishment. Will he get back to the top? Maybe. Never count out Alejandro. The Czechs are also represented quite well. We have Teresa, who placed 10th in 2024 and 6th in 2023, so 2 top 10 finishes in back-to-back years. Excellent. We have Marketa, who finished 21st last year, but finished 3rd in 2023. So also shown that they can do quite well. Maybe we see one of them pull off a win. Another top 10 finisher from 2024 from the Netherlands is Inge, who placed 9th and could do equally as well this year, if not better. Outside of that group, we have a few other names I think are important to watch that have been improving over the past few years or months, and maybe making their debut or have only been to Worlds once. but I'm going to start off with Emma Quirk from Ireland, who placed 33rd last year, but recently won the UK and Portugal championships. Definitely someone who I've followed her on Instagram, practicing a fair bit on there, and who doesn't support the primary school teachers. As one myself, definitely going to be cheering for Emma to do very well. Next, we have the Hannahs, plural. We have Hannah from Finland, who finished 27th in 2024. We have Hannah from Australia, who finished in 29th. I've heard promising things about Hannah Doyle from the US, and she's making her world's debut. And there's also 7 more Hannahs. It is the 3rd most popular name after Anna or Anna, with 18 representatives, and we have Sarah with all their spellings at 15. So 3 very common names that you're going to see a lot at it, but Hannahs in general seem to be doing very well at Worlds, and I expect that to continue this year. So good luck to the Hannahs. And while I just mentioned Hannah from Australia, the Aussies come in full force to Worlds. We have Katrina, who placed 7th last year, Melissa, who came in 14th, Rihanna, who placed 46th. These are why they're called the Aussie All-Stars for a reason. And while I might not get to do that video, I will say now that the Aussie All-Stars are my pick to finish first in the teams event if I'm only counting teams that are competing under a nation's flag. There is another team that has a very good shot as well, but if we're looking at pure countries, Aussie All-Stars, I think, take it. Very briefly, Slovakia is also represented very well with Lenka and Veronica, so good luck to those two. I like seeing the smaller countries represented strongly like that, so yeah, good to see Slovakia in there. And finally, when it comes to Canada, I've already mentioned Devon, who finished in 78th place last year, but we now also will have Megan, Katie, and Tess in the final, making their World's debut. So I think we have a Canadian that makes a push for a high placing this year as well. What I'm most excited about and what I hope for the most is that a new name rises to the top on the finishing table. It might not be somebody that's, maybe they finished first, second, or third last year, but if they finish a bit further down the table, that's what we would like to see, similar to how Veronica finished last year, jumping into the number 2 spot, which was excellent to see. So that's what I'm hoping for this year. Yeah, so who do I think will actually win the whole thing? If I had to play it safe, I'm going to pick Veronica to win it all. I know I mentioned earlier in the video back-to-back. She didn't win last year. That is my mistake. I'm not going to go back and record it. She didn't win back-to-back. She is the number 1 seed, though, from this year, finishing in 2nd place last year. I think she improves on that, and she becomes the 1st place winner this year if I'm playing it safe. But my slightly off-the-board pick, I've already mentioned these 2 people, but I think coming out of improving on last year and based on recent results, I think Emma Quirk from Ireland could pull off a surprise World Championship victory. She'd be the first Celtic winner as well, and my Scottish side would love to see that happen. My other outside pick would be not as big of a jump as Emma would be, but I think we might see our first non-European winner, and that would be Katrina Coleman from Australia. It would be great to see a non-European win and see how speed puzzling is expanding beyond the circle around the Ravensburger factory in Germany. But yeah, those are my 2 kind of off-the-board picks, Emma and Katrina. But to end and bringing it back to Canada, my pick for the top Canadian, and who knows, maybe the top person overall, anything can happen on any given day with the right puzzle. I am going to go with Megan Sloka as the top Canadian finisher this year. It was a very tough decision. Katie is a very close second at this point, but I have not seen Megan lose any competition that has had a Ravensburger puzzle in an individual setting. So until that happens, I don't know how I pick against Megan. So that is going to be my choice again, but Katie's so close. A very close second. It's essentially 1A, 1B. If they can tie, would love that. I would love to see two Canadians tie. But yeah, good luck to everyone that will be participating at the World Championships 2025. That is it for this preview video. If I have time before Worlds, I will attempt to do a pairs and teams event preview video. Unlikely that I make it there, but if I don't, again, I hope everyone does well. Finally, just a final time, good luck to everyone participating at Worlds, especially if it is your first time going, like it is for me. Enjoy yourself and compete to your absolute best while you are there. If you see me and want to introduce yourself, please do. Happy to meet as many people from around the world as possible. I'm not going to have stickers or buttons. I am not that prepared of a person. If you want to give me one, I would love that. But feel free to introduce yourself. Love to have a quick chat with as many people as I can. If you want to record something that I can post on here, would also love that too. But honestly, just come up and say hi. My Canadam t-shirt will most likely be on me at most times. Yeah, you'll see me. You'll be able to point me out, I think. But good luck to everybody. While I'm in Spain, I will be updating on this channel somewhat, but most of my updates will be through my Instagram channel under the same name at @CanadamPuzzle. So please head over there, subscribe, follow along to that. Subscribe here too, so you stay up to date with anything that I am posting. But that is it. And as always, and even more so for those that are going to Worlds, happy puzzling.